Hi, I wanted to make this video review of Steve Hayes' new book, A Liberated Mind. So that's a book that Steve has been working on for the past 10 years, and it's quite an amazing book. It's, probably the most comprehensive presentation of acceptance and commitment therapy, and also replacing it in the broader field of science, of psychological science, but also of evolutionary science, and it's an absolute masterpiece. I've been an ACT therapist and interested in practicing and learning and writing about ACT for the past 12 years now, and I have to say that I'm really impressed by how Steve's work is in constant evolution, gets deeper, gets richer, and in this book in particular, he has identified 6 fundamental human yearnings that can actually be used in order to pivot, as he says, to move towards a more valued life, towards being better able to do what matters in life and to have a life that's really worth living. So the book shows us, in many ways, through a scientific journey, a scientific and personal journey, through Steve's own personal experience of struggling with anxiety, through his own scientific journey from behaviorism to cognitive therapy into these new contextual behavioral therapies and contextual behavioral science, which he has been instrumental in initiating and in bringing to life in many ways. And so the book is both profoundly personal and also scientific, but not scientific in a way that makes it readable only by scientists, but scientific in a way that really can speak to pretty much anybody with an interest in science, in psychology, and with an open mind. And I really like the way Steve weaves his own psychological, cultural development through the 60s and 70s, and intellectual development also, with his struggles with anxiety, to the point that he developed this panic disorder, and anxiety kind of took over his life. And he recounts how, taking on board some of the teachings from meditation, mindfulness, also from the human development movement, one day he had this kind of epiphany in the middle of the most horrible panic attack he'd ever had, in the middle of the night, and his mind was telling him, go to the emergency room, go to the emergency room. And a part of him could notice all this, observe all this, and from this part he kind of got what was going on, and he realized that his mind could tell him to do this, could urge him to do this, but it couldn't actually make him do it. And so in that moment he realized that he could keep control of his body, no matter what his mind was saying, no matter how strong his emotions. And it's from that experience that he actually developed acceptance and commitment therapy, which is an approach that really helps us to distance from thoughts, from painful emotions, difficult memories also, so that we can step back and notice what it is that we want to do or not do, and make those conscious choices that will give us a valued life, a life that's worth living. So that's kind of the first part of the book, is all about this intertwining of his personal journey, scientific journey, and presentation of the base, the scientific basis of the ACT model. And the second part is really an exploration of 6 processes, 6 pivots, starting from those fundamental yearnings, amongst which the yearning to belong, the yearning for coherence, to make meaning, the yearning to orient, the yearning for competence, and I forget a few others, but those 6 yearnings that actually fit very well with the 6 basic processes of the ACT model. And so the second part is chapters that will guide the reader through these processes, through the pivots, to how to use those processes to meet those fundamental yearnings, with a wealth of very interesting experiential exercises, a number of those being new and some of them being more classical examples, classical exercises from the ACT world. And then the third part of the book really is a guide to apply ACT to a whole range of human challenges and situations, starting with mental suffering, depression, anxiety, but also covering things like stress, optimizing functioning for sports, reducing procrastination, improving performance at work and in teams. And the book finishes on this opening to how to use the very same processes to build more pro-social communities and to serve the broader needs of our society, which of course in these times is more urgent than ever. So Steve's life's mission and life's work has been about developing a psychology more that can rise to the challenges of being human. And in this book, it really gives a sense to pretty much everybody who cares to read it as to how ACT has uncovered a number of these processes that can help each and every one of us and ourselves as units, as teams, as in our relationships and also in our societies, to rise up to the challenges of that face humanity today. And as I said, this is a very urgent work. And if you haven't read it, if you haven't ordered it yet, this is one of the best things you can do, is to buy this book and most of all read it and explore it. So I hope this review was useful to some of you, and I'll see you now telling you see you next time.